No matches.
Pasadena.
I know what happened, I think. Should I put in Roberts?
Let's give it a try.
I see her. That I don't like that she had to get rid of Rothenberg. I'm assuming that she was escaping some kind of subtle or overt anti-Semitism. Is that a good assumption or a bad assumption?
That's a good assumption.
Probably you don't change from Rothenberg to Roberts for any other reason.
Accomplished actor, director, and screenwriter Helen Hunt has worked on more than 80 films, TV shows, and Broadway plays in a career that began in childhood. She rose to fame playing Jamie on NBC's hit show Mad About You, a role that earned her 4 Emmys. For her performance in the feature As Good as It Gets, Helen won an Academy Award and the honor of being the second woman ever to earn an Emmy, Oscar, and Golden Globe in the same year. Helen lives in Los Angeles with her partner Matthew Carnahan, her stepson Emmett Carnahan, and daughter McKenna Lay.
I was born here. I don't know that much about generations before, but I have parents from here and grandparents who lived here. And I have heard more about my mother's parents, maybe because my mother, like me, is a talker and a seeker of those things. My mother's like me in that she's interested in photographs and records. And on my father's side, maybe I don't know if he's less that way, or I'm sure some of it has to do with the fact that his mother died when he was so young. My dad's mother was killed by a drunk driver, I was told, when he was 5, which is hard to even talk about, even though I didn't know her. I was named after her, and am incredibly close to my father, and his siblings, actually. So the thought of them going through that at such a young age, especially, as I started to raise my daughter and really, could imagine what that would mean. He didn't have a mother to say, here are the photographs, and here's what happened, and here's what my mother was like, and my father and my grandmother. So I'm doing this for my daughter. Time is speeding up as I get older. So I want her to have, something in her hand to know where she's from. So I'm scrapbooking for my life. Since I already know a good deal about my mom's family, I want to explore my dad's side of the family. I've heard we have European Jewish roots and ancestors from the East Coast. I'd like to find out more about that. I'm meeting with my father, Gordon, here in Los Angeles to see if he has any clues to start me off on my journey.
So, here we are.
This I've never seen.
Wow, I love that picture.
It's amazing.
And there's my mother, Helen, and there's my grandmother, the power behind the throne, Florence Roberts.
So I remember hearing that name.
Yeah.
And then when did Rothenberg become Roberts? I mean, I know it has to do with their Jewishness, but was it when they came to New York?
I don't know the when of that.
And her husband, you never knew?
No. She and her husband were immigrants from, I think, Germany, and they emigrated through New York and then ended up living in Pasadena. The building still stands, called the Green Hotel.
And they lived in a hotel because they could?
That's exactly right, because they could.
Where did the money come from?
I don't know. I would like to find out someday.
I'm heading to Pasadena, California, where Florence's old home, what used to be the Hotel Green, still stands. My dad's mother, Helen, lived there with my great-grandmother, Florence Roberts. So I'm here meeting with Mark Dollinger, a professor of Jewish American history. I've asked him to do some research on my ancestors, who my dad thinks are from New York. Hello. And I want to find out how my great-grandmother had enough money that she could actually choose to live in a hotel. I grew up knowing Florence's name and that she lived in this hotel. There was a Rothenberg to Roberts thing that I always knew growing up and was kind of interested in why that was. I asked my dad about his grandfather and he didn't know much about.
Let's see where they were in 1900. And if we do a search on Ancestry.com, and let's see, we're going to search for census records, and we're going to look for 1900.
Florence, Rothenberg.
Let's search in New York.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Gustav,
That's my great-grandfather.
right?
So this, yeah.
Florence, Alfred, Edwin, not Edward, and Paul. Helen, there she is.
And if you look underneath Helen's name,
I can barely read
Rose,
it. Rose.
and after Rose's name,
I can't read it.
servant.
Oh, goodness.
And then Anne, servant. Mary, Delia.
One for each child. Wow.
So we can conclude that they were quite well off.
Right.
So actually, I have a document to show you.
Death record for Gustav Rothenberg. Intestinal and gastric hemorrhage.
Yeah, related to typhoid fever.
Typhoid fever. That 1900, oh my God.
So I wonder, is that when Florence moved to Pasadena?
Let's do another search for Florence.
Pasadena. Okay. Florence Rothenberg.
So in 1910, they're in Pasadena, which means after the death of her husband
She goes 3,000 miles.
with 4 young kids.
Is there any clue about that?
Helen Hunt is in Pasadena, California, hoping to uncover more of her great-grandmother's story. She just found out that her great-grandfather, Gustav, died in 1900, leaving his wife a young widow with 4 kids. Helen wants to know how this single mother, Florence Rothenberg, fared on her own, moving 3,000 miles away from New York.
Why don't you stay in New York where your synagogue is, I wonder?
We don't know precisely
Maybe she
why
was
she
cold.
picked Pasadena, but we know a lot of other people made the same decision. The Jewish population in Los Angeles between 1900 and 1915 increased 8 times.
Wow.
It was huge growth, and Pasadena was also high society. Shall we see how she progressed?
Yes.
Okay, let's do an Ancestry.com search for the 1920 census.
No matches. I know what happened, I think. Should I put in Roberts?
Let's give it a try.
I see her. That I don't like that she had to get rid of Rothenberg. I'm assuming that she was escaping some kind of subtle or overt anti-Semitism. Is that a good assumption or a bad assumption?
That's a good assumption.
Probably you don't change from Rothenberg to Roberts for any other reason.
Due to famine, war, and persecution in the late 1800s, Jewish refugees were fleeing Europe by the millions, among a wave of more than 20 million newcomers to America over just 4 decades. Many native-born Americans feared this group, and in 1921, Congress indirectly targeted Jews by passing a law limiting the number of immigrants allowed to enter the U.S. These events fueled a spike in anti-Semitism that also impacted Jews already in America, who were suddenly facing discrimination themselves.
It would be a lot more challenging to go through life as a Rothenberg
Right, and
than
the
it would as a Roberts.
word restricted suddenly becomes a part of your life.
So we learned before that Gustav died young, and what I have here for you is the certificate of death of Florence.
86 years old. So she lived a long life.
This is a very important historical document for us, most of all because it gives us information on her father,
William Shalley.
your great-great-grandfather.
Shalley, I didn't even know that name till right now at all.
Through some research, we were in fact able to find an 1845 passenger ship manifest
Oh my gosh.
from Bavaria
Germany.
to New York City.
Is he on there?
His name was a little different, as was often the case. Went by the name Wolf.
Wolf
Shalley. Wolf is a typical German language name, and William certainly sounds much more American.
So I just found out that my great-great-grandfather, Wolf Shalley, who became William, was the one who came over from Germany. So the question remains, where did William's or Florence's money come from?
As you can see here, Wolf Shalley begins as a farmer. Economic depression was hitting in this time period, and as was typically the case, they would move into the cities looking for work or greater economic opportunity.
So do we know what William did when he got to America?
Well, in 1853, City of New York provides us with the business directory.
So William.
There's William.
Oh, and does that say Abraham? So there's an Abraham.
Abraham is William's big brother.
Oh, here we go. Abraham Clothing.
That's right.
William Clothing. Shalley and Brother Clothing. They're on Bowery Street. I know Bowery Street. Wait a minute. What happened? William is in San Francisco. Why?
Your great-great-grandfather, William,
Yes.
arrived at an incredibly fortuitous time, because within just a few years, from 1848 to 1850, when they're establishing themselves in New York, gold is discovered in the foothills of California's Sierra Nevada.
Fantastic.
And your great-great-grandfather, William, was very well positioned to join the gold rush.
Do we know what made him well positioned?
He acquired enough language skills, and he had enough of a business foundation to afford the journey to the West.
Wow. No idea. I had absolutely no idea. I know nothing about the gold rush, so if that's actually where I'm headed, I will be learning a lot. I love San Francisco, but I didn't know that that was an important place in my family. It's a little tiny clue, but it means something.
I'm now hot on the trail of my great-great-grandfather William, who moved west at the time of the gold rush. So I'm on my way to Northern California to see what else I can discover about him.
So I'm on the Bay Bridge going into San Francisco. Many times I've been, but as a child I remember seeing it and thinking it was among the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. But I had no idea that anybody in my family had any particular connection to it.
Mark Dollinger suggested I meet with Professor Stephen Aaron, an expert in the American West. We're meeting at the San Francisco Public Library.
Hi, I'm Steve Aaron.
I've asked Stephen to investigate my great-great-grandfather for me. I want to know if William Shalley made his fortune from the gold rush.
I was shown a list of merchants that showed William here, and there was talk of gold rush.
Okay.
That's everything I know.
Okay.
And I know nothing about the gold rush.
Well, he came, we know that he does come to California in the early 1850s, because if you can look here, you'll see this is the first census of California in 1852.
The first census.
California becomes a state in 1850,
Right.
right on the heels of the gold rush. And
Is that him?
that is him. San Francisco had been a small village before gold sort of happened. But quickly on the heels, thousands rush in.
Beginning in 1848, the promise of gold lured throngs from around the world to San Francisco. The population rocketed, turning the sleepy seaside town into a thriving international seaport almost overnight. Merchants sought to take advantage of new opportunities that gold and the population boom presented. While miners searched for gold, savvy businessmen like William Shalley sought their own fortunes, supplying, clothing, and feeding them. But success here was by no means a sure bet. Competition was fierce, logistics difficult, and rampant crime threatened the surging city.
And is there any way to know how struggling or well off he was?
Yeah, if you look at this newspaper.
My gosh.
Helen Hunt is in San Francisco, where she's just discovered that her great-great-grandfather made the daring decision to open a branch of his clothing business during the rough-and-tumble gold rush era. She's speaking with historian Stephen Aaron, hoping to find out how William Shalley fared in this wild western boomtown.
So if you look at this newspaper from 1855, you can see here in this just this tabulation of the weekly shipment of treasures.
Shalley Brothers. My gosh. $10,100.
So he's, and roughly in today's terms, that's probably about $250,000. So that's a significant amount of cargo that he is engaged in. If you look then at the 1858 business directory for San Francisco.
Shalley, Jacob, and brother.
But this is the common pattern, to send the younger brothers out to, to sort of work together.
So William's older brother Abraham stayed in New York, and his other brother Jacob came out to San Francisco.
William Shalley, manufacturers and importers of clothing.
They're now declaring themselves not just as importers of goods. They've branched out and they seem to be engaged now, at least in some manufacturing enterprise. Obviously from these we know that they're doing well enough, which is no easy feat. So here's another census, the 1870 census.
William Shalley, right? And Rosa. I don't know who that is.
That is his wife.
Albert, Mamie, Florence, who is my great-grandmother, Clara, age 6, my God. And that says Adolf?
Right, but in the same household here.
Oh, this is all in the same household.
This is the same household, so you can see also.
Anne, Sophia, and what's this last name? Walsh?
Walsh.
Willis. Domestic servant. So they're doing okay.
So they've got 3 domestic servants.
Their servants, my people.
In fact, here they are.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's William Shalley.
There's William.
Wow. And then Rosa. There she is.
That's Florence.
My gosh. Just incredible to see that.
We have one more document over here that I think you'll find fascinating. If you can help me open this very big book.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's, Okay. You can see this is the San Francisco newspaper.
September 28th, 1874.
This might come in handy. Take a look right here.
It's sad, both things. There we go. The solid men. The following is a carefully prepared list of individuals and firms in San Francisco whose reputed wealth exceeds $1 million. The individual towers of strength are Michael Reese, D.O. Mills, A. Hayward, Levi Strauss, Louis Strauss, Jacob Shalley, William Shalley. Oh my God. They're zillionaires. Wow.
Really, when you think about it, this is 1874, so this is 20 plus years after he first got here.
And what were they made of that they thought they could do it, that they thought even maybe they could do it? It's quite incredible.
I mean, this was the dream that brought so many hundreds of thousands of people here. They came for gold. In some ways, William Shalley, he found the gold.
I guess by any measure, it's utterly remarkable. Certainly seems like a literally rags to riches story in this case. We knew there was money in Pasadena. So now I guess the money and the California part of that makes more sense. So you just feel like little parts of you are waking up.
Stephen suggested I talk to Frances Dinkelspiel, a writer who has traced her own roots to 19th century San Francisco. Frances told me she would be able to fill me in on the rest of my great-great-grandfather's rise to success. We're meeting at the old San Francisco Mint, a historic financial institution.
So I wanted to show you something. This is a story from the New York Times, Sunday, February 16th, 1890.
The Nevada Bank to be sold. Negotiations have been going on recently between the present proprietors and a syndicate composed of the following wealthy capitalists: Levi Strauss, Shalley Brothers, Louis Schloss, and Hellman's bankers at Los Angeles.
So there are 2 names in there. One, of course, is of William Shalley, who is your great-great-grandfather. And here's a picture of another man on that list. His name is Isaiah Hellman, and he is my great-great-grandfather.
No!
Yes.
Oh my God!
So our great-great-grandfathers were friends.
Rich friends.
Rich friends, and they were business partners.
My goodness, that's amazing.
So when word got out, millionaires lined up from all over the country trying to get shares of stock in the Nevada Bank. And here is a list of some of the people who invested in the Nevada Bank.
Does that say Lehman Brothers? Shalley Brothers.
So Helen, Do you ever hear today about the Nevada Bank?
No.
So let me show you another article.
My God.
Helen Hunt is with Francis Dinkelspiel, who's just told Helen that their great-grandfathers helped bail out the failing Nevada Bank. But there's even more to the story.
Let me show you another article. This is also from the New York Times.
Wells Fargo and Nevada institutions will become one at close of today's business. They became Wells Fargo.
Right.
My God.
So what happened
I'm gonna
was...
strut around here now when I walk down the streets of San Francisco.
That's right.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
This document shows that your family, the Shalley brothers, were part creators of an institution that is now spread across the country that millions and millions of Americans bank at.
That's amazing.
It's something that's sort of not well known in history, how this group of Bavarian Jews came and sort of really dug themselves in and said, this is our country now, we're going to make it a success and we're going to dedicate everything to it.
Right. Wow, thank you so much. My daughter loves a good story. And so the idea that I can say your great-great-great-grandfather lived in Germany and came here when there was nothing, it's just hard to imagine. But I feel like she'll have a better shot at understanding what it means to be American, because of that story. I was very surprised and impressed by Florence and William's stories. Now I really want to dig into my father's side of the family, the Hunts, and see what I can learn about my great-great-grandfather, George Hunt I. My dad told me my great-great-grandfather was from Portland, Maine, so I'm heading there to begin my investigation. I've only been in Portland, Maine one other time. I was working in a small town about an hour and a half outside of Portland, and I was only 7 weeks pregnant, not wanting anybody to know because I was so worried that something would happen. And so I had a friend who knew a doctor, and we heard her heartbeat, my daughter's heartbeat, for the first time here, Portland, Maine. All I know about George Hunt is that he was a businessman and traded goods, but what did he trade and who was his family? I've asked local historian Herb Adams to look into George and see if he can help me sort it all out. We're meeting at a pub in the same neighborhood where he says my great-great-grandfather once worked. Nice
Pleased to meet you.
You too.
Welcome to Portland.
Thank you. The little bit that I know, if I have it right, is that my great-great-grandfather was from here, and something about trading.
Well, as it turns out, your great-great-grandfather, who lived in this town, George S. Hunt, was a major sugar importer and exported a lot of wood in those days. Can't grow sugar in Maine, I assure you, but we had plenty of wood, and that made his fortune, that exchange. This comes from a publication called Representative Businessmen of Portland, Maine, and his biography, and as much about the company as him, is right there.
This company was incorporated in 1863, located on West Commercial Street, which is a block from here, right?
Just about.
Right. According to this biography, in the mid-1800s, my great-great-grandfather, George Hunt, was an extremely successful businessman who traded lumber for sugar with the Caribbean. Our facilities for the manufacture of sugar should be so extensive and efficient as to be unequaled by those possessed by any other nation. Cool. I had no idea sugar was a thing in my family.
It would interest you, I thought, to see this.
George S. Hunt, one of the most prominent and enterprising of the Portland citizens, died very suddenly in the office at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Mr. Hunt leaves a widow who was very well known in educational circles and 2 sons. In September 22nd, 1863, he married Augusta, youngest daughter of the late George Barstow, a well-known and prominent resident of Portland. Wow.
Your great-great-grandmother, Augusta, the wife of the man we've been speaking about, appears in this document, which is sort of the woman's equivalent of the Representative Businessman's publication.
Augusta M. Hunt is a graceful speaker and is identified with various educational and philanthropic institutions. As president of the Home for Aged Women and the Women's Christian Temperance Union and of the Ladies' History Club, she has proved herself a wise and efficient leader. I'm guessing she was anti-rum.
You made a good guess. Right up until about 1850, Portland, Maine probably drank more rum than any other seaport in the United States. The one great 19th century reform that is a Maine reform is the anti-alcohol crusade.
And that started in Maine.
It started in this town, not far from where you're sitting
Oh
now.
my God.
In the 19th century, the rise of cheap sugar, the same commodity being traded by George Hunt before his death, also led to a surge in the availability of rum and other spirits, especially in New England. 1830 marked the peak of U.S. per capita alcohol consumption, even to today. At one time, in a 1-mile stretch of Portland, some 300 establishments sold liquor. In an effort to curtail rampant drinking, the Maine Law of 1851 was enacted, prohibiting the production and sale of alcohol. This law made it unlikely that George Hunt's company provided sugar to the rum makers.
This was a national organization which still exists in Portland, Maine.
Wow. I think pretty sure the Christian Temperance Society was, I don't know what it was. Makes me want to go have something warm with rum in it.
Helen Hunt is in Portland, Maine, investigating her great-great-grandmother Augusta Hunt's role in the temperance movement in the late 1800s.
Herb recommended I talk to Professor Carol Mattingly, who I've asked to look into how my great-great-grandmother was involved in temperance. She's asked me to meet her at the Neil Dow House, headquarters for Maine's branch of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. My great-great-grandfather traded sugar very successfully, and I learned that his wife was very active in the Women's Christian Temperance Union.
You didn't know
And
it
I've learned that it gives me a
existed.
slight bit of anxiety to say all those words pushed in together.
Why are you so nervous about this?
I don't know. Tell me more.
Okay, I'm going to tell you why I think you're nervous.
Okay.
Because the WCTU is associated with a prudish movement that failed.
Right.
The reason women joined the WCTU in such huge numbers is because alcohol abuse was so rampant in the 19th century.
Right.
And the primary result women felt was the physical and sexual abuse of women and children. And so they rallied around the temperance topic.
There was a dark side to the 19th century love affair with liquor. Alcoholism spiked, even in children, and domestic violence took a steep toll on families and society as a whole. Married women like Augusta had few legal rights at the time. They couldn't vote or sign contracts, and divorcing was difficult at best. But women became a powerful force for social change when they banded together against rampant alcohol abuse and other social ills.
Well, they were all about getting voice for women.
That's amazing.
Your great-great-grandmother did the welcoming address at the 11th annual convention. If you would start reading just
Here, when we consider the well-known and sad fact that women have always been the greatest sufferer from the misery caused by intemperance, does it not seem strange that nearly 90 years of such suffering were required to reveal to women their duty upon this question? That's an amazing thing. Took time.
These are pictures of your great-great-grandmother, Augusta Barstow Hunt. She was really active in the WCTU in the 1880s and 1890s, which would have been their heyday, which the organization was huge and very powerful and influential by that time. We've surmised that this might be your grandfather because these are probably her grandchildren.
And then her grandson's wife is Helen, right, my grandmother, and she was killed by a drunk driver.
Is that true?
It's just interesting to watch your own snap judgments rise up and crumble away, you know? I knew nothing about her. Then I heard she had been in these organizations. I heard the word Temperance, and I have an utterly uneducated idea about what that is. And then to have it sort of blossom in this beautiful, painful way that she was involved in sort of excruciating issues. And then, you know, how my father's mother was killed, and then I have a real connection to because I've grown up with my dad and wondered or imagined or glimpsed what the effect of that was. Pretty amazing. I don't know how long she lived, so I don't know where in the span of her life this happened, you know? Was this the last thing she did? Was this the beginning? It impresses me that even as a widow with children, my great-great-grandmother, Augusta, still made it a priority to be involved in social change. Carol has sent me to see Professor Shannon Risk, who studies women's history. Shannon said she would research for me what else Augusta was able to accomplish for women's rights. I just came from the WCTU, the name of which filled me with fear and dread until I found out what they did, and then it humbled me and moved me that what they were doing was about much more than I ever bothered to learn about or imagine. So what else can you tell me about Augusta?
Not only was Augusta involved in the WCTU, we have pulled out some things about your great-great-grandmother, and the first is a biography, and it starts right here and goes on to the next page. So she was about 62 when they're writing about her.
Wow. Mrs. Hunt remained president of the Portland Women's Christian Temperance Union for 15 years. Under her direction, the Coffee House and Friendly Inn, day nursery, and free kindergartens were adopted as branches of the work of this organization. This biography says that my great-great-grandmother was instrumental in starting daycare, bringing female guards to co-ed prisons, and getting women elected to school boards. That's remarkable. Under her leadership, the council was instrumental in having a law passed which gives to a mother an equal right with a father in the care and guardianship of minor children. Wow.
So this was a way for Augusta and her cohorts to be political in a society that did not accept women in politics.
I mean, I know many women have had to choose between being present with their children and getting something done in the world that's going to affect generations and generations. So, you know, to the extent that she did both at once, that's, I think that's a big deal, actually.
It was so important to her. This work was so important. And again, they've turned outward into society.
That's huge.
As the temperance movement gained strength, women shifted their focus to larger issues, and the women's rights movement was born. Some 40 years before Augusta got involved, the movement for women's rights burst onto the national stage in 1848 with a two-day event called the Seneca Falls Convention. Here, Elizabeth Cady Stanton made international headlines by declaring that women deserved the right to vote, a shocking and controversial idea at the time. Soon after, Stanton teamed with Susan B. Anthony to focus the women's movement on this key issue: voting rights for women.
And so I want to show you this document that is the proposal from 1917 to be signed into law, they hope, giving women the right to vote.
So this is demanding that they put this up to vote.
Right. And so Augusta and her colleagues gathered thousands of signatures on petitions, and the Maine state legislature agrees, but now they must turn it out into male voting society to see what will happen.
Oh, it's thrilling and enraging all at once.
Yes. At this point, Augusta is in her mid-70s, but we know that she remains active in the fight for the women's vote. Mm-hmm. The referendum returns come back, and in most communities, they vote the resolution down. The ratio is about 2 to 1.
I think about women having daughters and having to explain that to your daughter. I mean, my daughter, I'm not looking forward to having her even begin to understand that there was a day when you know, when women were treated differently than men were in such a huge and radical way.
Although suffrage did not pass in Maine, women were making headway elsewhere in the country. By the start of World War I, full suffrage had passed in 12 states. Women like Augusta famously mocked an address made by President Woodrow Wilson when he claimed that the Great War was a struggle for democracy. Suffragists contended that the United States was not itself a democracy since women couldn't vote. By 1918, President Wilson was swayed and began publicly supporting voting rights for women. The tide was turning, and in 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, at long last granting all American women the power to vote.
So we don't know a tremendous amount about her later years, but we do know that she witnessed the passing of the 19th Amendment, and we have a copy of that here.
And she was alive.
She was alive. Mm-hmm. She's about 77.
Mm-hmm. Proposing an amendment to the Constitution extending the right of suffrage to women.
She had lived to see the day.
Thank God. Did she live to vote?
This is the voter registration book from 1920. And I thought perhaps we might look for Augusta's name.
Hutchins, that's not a good sign. Am I looking in the right place?
What we're looking for is District 6.
District 6. She worked so hard for so long. This is her first chance to register to vote. Hope she's in here. Hopkins, Hume. I don't see her.
Helen Hunt has just learned that her great-great-grandmother, Augusta Hunt, was instrumental in gaining women the right to vote. She is about to find out whether Augusta was able to achieve her dream and register to vote herself.
Hopkins, Hume. I don't see her. Oh, wait. Augusta M. So this means she registered to vote.
After a lifetime of fighting for women's right to vote.
And these are almost all women, Delia and Catherine and Mary and Helen. Mm-hmm. And Augusta. Incredible. So she registered, but did she actually cast a ballot?
I have one last thing to show you. It is an article featured in the Portland Sunday Telegram talking about Augusta.
Mrs. George S. Hunt, identified through the years with the organization and administration of many institutions for social service, including the WCTU, of which she is a charter member, will celebrate her 90th birthday Monday. My goodness, longevity. And the story of Mrs. Hunt's long and useful life is in great part a history of the development of the social agenda of the state. It was indeed fitting that she should be made the first woman member of the Lincoln Club, and that when women's suffrage was last granted, the first woman's ballot to be passed was that of Augusta. It's amazing.
It turns out that Augusta passed away 10 days after this article was published.
Her name will live long and her work will live always. That's incredible. It's very moving to see your own name reflected back at you. That alone is very moving. I mean, it's not about being first, but it took me a minute to really get, that that's a forever thing, She's forever the first one in this place to have stepped over that line. That's amazing. I say to my daughter all the time, you're a strong woman. And I mean it because she already seems strong, but, she doesn't yet know, but will now know that her great-great-great grandmother just was part of this group of women that paved the way for everything. Definitely, if I think about hearing this daughter's heartbeat in this same place, you know, that's a little, you know, a tiny little woman who will vote one day. That's me.